Hello, welcome back. We continue on our unit on theism. We continue with the ironic solution to the problem of evil. Last time we talked about why is there moral evil. We said it's there to deepen and obscure the revelation of the divine nature. And why is there natural evil is the question we have to answer now. So we said God allows moral evil to deepen and obscure the revelation of the divine nature, being his justice and mercy particularly. Now we have to see, why is there natural evil? Toil, strife, old age, sickness, and death. If you recall, we went over an argument earlier about natural evil is not original. So that argument is going to be connected to the ironic solution. Remember, we said natural evil is toil, strife, old age, sickness, and physical death. If God is infinitely powerful, he could create a world without natural evil. If he's infinitely good, he would create a world without natural evil. If he could have and he would have, then he must have. And if he must have, then he did. So it's not original. And if it's not original, then it's imposed. And if it's imposed, it must be for a good reason. So let's see if the ironic solution has a good reason for the existence of natural evil. So it continues. Natural evil consists in toil, strife, old age, sickness, and physical death. Natural evil is not original. Natural evil is due to moral evil. Natural evil is imposed as a callback from moral evil. So let's go back to our story of the prodigal son. He's going deeper and deeper into moral evil as he goes off, squanders his inheritance in riotous living. He has to go deeper and deeper into moral evil to get the pleasure that he's seeking. But the natural evil, the suffering in his life, particularly in the form of famine, gets him to stop and think about his condition and reconsider his view of the good. So it says natural evil is imposed as a callback from moral evil. And there's several purposes for natural evil. Natural evil is imposed first to restrain moral evil. For some people, all of us undergo natural evil. Everyone is under natural evil. Everyone dies, which means nobody's good. Remember, everyone's in moral evil. So for some people, natural evil just serves to restrain them from going into as much moral evil as they could. The fact that we have a lifespan of maybe 70 and 80 years is a limitation, right? You only have so many years to go into moral evil. And in those years, we toil, we work hard, and that keeps us from going into moral evil more. We strive with others. People problems take up a lot of time that we could be spending on pursuing pleasure, right? Old age has a lot of problems with it. Your body starts working against you, and perhaps you get sick, and eventually you die. So these things are restraints for some people, for everybody. Okay, for everybody it's a restraint. For some people it's a callback, like the young man in the pigsty. Some people hit rock bottom, and the suffering in their life makes them stop and think and reconsider their view of the good. So when we suffer, our view of the good is being questioned. And if our view of the good is not giving us satisfaction, meaning, then we will reconsider. So suffering is a callback. And remember the story of the prodigal son. You think, oh, this guy got off scot-free. I don't like this story. You saw the forgiveness, but the guy has to go through life without an inheritance now. He squandered it. His life is going to be difficult. He's going to have to learn from his mistakes. So those who do change their view and come to know the good still have to go through a process of cleansing. We have to be cleansed from our former beliefs and actions. So natural evil serves to remove moral evil that remains. So I draw a picture on the board of an arrow. It restrains some people. it calls back some people, and it removes, for those who are called back, moral evil that remains. Natural evil restrains, recalls from, and removes moral evil. Natural evil calls human beings to stop and think deeply about basic things. And the basic things are about, does God exist or not? What is human nature and what is good for human nature? So natural evil should get us to do philosophy. Natural evil assumes the existence of not just moral evil, but digging in. Self-deception. We think we're using reason to know. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're deceived about our condition. And self-justification. We like to give all kinds of excuses for what we do. And maybe they're dumb excuses. So it assumes that we're not using reason, and we're self-deceived about that, and we're self-justifying about that. So moral evil is pretty bad, and it's dug in. Stubborn. So we need natural evil to get us out of this condition of neglecting, avoiding, resisting, and denying reason in the presence of what is clear. Now, this is interesting. Natural evil is a call back from moral evil. Moral evil is due to our failure to know God, and it's because we had something else in the place of God that we preferred. Natural evil is calling us out of that condition. God imposed natural evil. So God imposed natural evil as a callback from moral evil. So natural evil turns out to be merciful. It would be just for God to leave human beings in the condition of moral evil. It would be just for God to turn his back on human beings who have turned their back on God. But God doesn't do that. He imposes natural evil to call human beings back to himself, back to the good. And that makes natural evil merciful. So lots of people complain about natural evil, but it turns out natural evil is mercy. And everybody is under natural evil, so everybody's under God's mercy. In addition, it has to do with God's justice and mercy. God's justice says, leave them in moral evil, and the consequences of moral evil are meaninglessness, boredom, and guilt. It is just for God to leave humans in that condition, but he doesn't. He's calling humans back. So how is God both infinitely just, leave them, and infinitely merciful, call them back? That looks like a new contradiction. And that new problem is exactly why theists have scripture. If you recall, scripture shows how God is both just and merciful. So this is an apparent contradiction. God can be both just and merciful. And here's how it works. God is calling people back, which assumes there's an answer. It assumes God provides the way. And you can think of it this way. Let's say you were convicted of a crime and you were found guilty and you're in court and the judge says, well, you're guilty of this crime. You can either pay $50,000 to be released, or you can go to jail for 5 years. I'm making up the numbers. And you are young and you have your future before you. 5 years in jail is going to really ruin your future, and you don't have $50,000. The judge is only requiring these two things. Is it possible that someone else could pay the $50,000 for you? Yes, the court only wants payment. So someone else could provide the $50,000. Now, think of it this way. Let's pretend the judge is your dad, and your dad puts up the $50,000. That would satisfy justice, right? And it would also be merciful. That's how God is both just and merciful. He provides the way out in theism. Someone else pays the penalty. God himself pays the penalty for moral evil. So God can be merciful on some. Not everybody is going to receive God's forgiveness, because not everybody wants it. So that's how God is both just and merciful in theism. God provides the way. And that's what special revelation is about. But that's also where philosophy ends and theology begins. So I'm going to pause there and let you pursue some other class, maybe Intro to Christianity or something, or world religions, to see how is special revelation going to talk about God's justice and mercy. For now, I'd like to go on to the ironic solution itself. Why is it ironic? All right, so we're going to take the problem of evil as we saw it and change it a little bit, or deepen the meaning just a little bit to see the problem of evil and its irony. So I'm going to ask you the question, what is the ironic solution to the problem of evil? And I'm looking for this part, the numbered part. Okay, that's the answer, and I'll go over it. So let's look at this. It is the nature of evil, moral evil, to reverse the order of things. Moral evil calls good evil and evil good. It blinds a person to the nature of good and evil. So that's the problem of evil. It calls things that are evil good, and it calls things that are good evil. That's what the young man was involved in going off to feed the pigs. Well, that's where he ends up. He's following his pleasure. All right, so look at number 1. This is the original statement of the problem of evil. Because of all the evil in the world, I don't see how it can be said God is all good and all powerful. So this is how Hume phrased it. Because of all the evil in the world, and it's usually natural evil, right? We start there. Why all this suffering? We're going to change it slightly in the next line. Because of all the unbelief in the world, which is moral evil, I don't see how it can be said God is all good and all powerful. So we've gone from natural evil to moral evil. And now what is moral evil? Is it just out there? No, it's in me. Because of all the unbelief in me, I don't see how it could be said God is all good and all powerful. Okay, now we're getting closer. What's unbelief in me like? Unbelief in me is not using my reason to see what is clear. And you're doing that because you've shut your eyes metaphorically. So let's look at the last iteration. Because I've shut my eyes and closed my ears, I can't see how it could be said God is all good and all powerful. It's like this. I can't see. More like this. I can't see how it could be said God is all good and all powerful. Right? So the nature of moral evil is to shut your eyes, to turn your reason off. And when you turn your reason off, of course you can't see. So we've gone from natural evil to moral evil in the world to moral evil in me, to the nature of moral evil as shutting off your reason to see. So the irony is, if you open your eyes, start using your reason, you will see, right? So the solution is open your eyes. Use your reason. The solution to the problem of evil, thus understood, is objectively easy. Open your eyes. Start using reason. Start seeking to know. But it's subjectively difficult because when we're in that condition, we can't see that we're in that condition. This is why we need mercy. We need like prayer or something to help us use our reason. But that's where this discussion ends. So what have we gone through? In theism, this is a wrap-up of the unit now. And what I want you to take from this whole handout. So let's go back to the top. In theism, we've distinguished theism from non-theism, from the monisms and the dualisms. We talked about some of the implications of God as creator. We looked at some of the objections. We gave a definition of God the Creator. We talked about general revelation and special revelation and the relationship between the two and why theists have redemptive revelation or scripture. We had a discussion about faith and reason. We talked about the problem of evil in depth. We looked at David Hume's discussion in the dialogues concerning natural religion. We saw David Hume's 5 solutions and 5 responses to the problem of evil. We We saw the shortcomings of that solution. We looked at the free will solution and the response. We said free will is a necessary component but not sufficient component to explaining the problem of evil, so we needed more. And recently we went into the ironic solution to the problem of evil, and this one started with a deepening of the definition of good and evil, moral evil, and we talked about why God would allow moral evil in the world to deepen the revelation, and why there's natural evil in the world to call human beings out of moral evil. And then we looked at the ironic solution just now and said that the problem is one of, let's say, not seeking, shutting our eyes. And the way to change that is by seeking or opening your eyes and using your reason. So not only are we at the end of theism, but now we're at the end of metaphysics. We've looked at the logical options, and we've looked at the reasons for and against. I leave it with you now to make a decision about which position has reason going for it. One of them does. They can't all be true and they can't all be false. So you have to find one that has the most in terms of arguments going for it. Now I'm going to pause here. The next unit we will look at is a brief introduction to ethics. And ethics is going to talk about the good life. So I think you'll like it. All right, take care for now.